It's been about 2 weeks since I've talked about math rock, and I need to talk about some math rock. So who better to talk about than a band who did a fantastic job on their very first attempt? I'm of course referring to American Football. No, wait, I've already done them. Antidotes, that's the album that I'm talking about. Antidotes by Foals. I'm hesitant to call this one underrated, considering the fact that not many people in the music reviewing circle, both big and small, whenever they talk about Foals, if at all, it always seems to be with their recent streamlined endeavours. And when I say streamlined, I don't mean that in any sort of condescending manner. I quite like a lot of, I pretty much like every album that they've put out so far, but their debut is the one I think is the least appreciated, and I think that should change, because Antidotes is, at the time, was very fresh, and even in hindsight I still think stands out amongst a lot of what was going on in the mid to late noughties. I'm forever grateful to my friend Louis for putting me onto this album, and Foals as a whole. It's one of my earliest memories of having like that sort of, like, I don't know, like a friendship or any sort of like community camaraderie like blossom or change for the better due to music. So Louis, if you're watching this, thank you for making me realise this album exists. Math rock wasn't exactly the territory you'd expect a British band to explore in 2008, especially, as I was saying, like off the back of the post-punk revival that had just occurred, the rampant popularity of other acts like the Arctic Monkeys. You would think that if a band was to come about in the age of that they would be going more for that. So the nicheness of what they were about to do didn't seem to scare off Foals at all, though. If anything, it only encouraged them to ramp up things to a whole other level. As Antidotes is equal parts ambitious as it is frantic and energetic. Cassius is one of the biggest cuts off this record, and for good reason too. The rhythmic guitars, they just jump around the joint, and it's almost like they've had like double their recommended caffeine intake. They're just, the energy that they're showing off is just to be adored. And the horns give this a really like jubilant edge, that very few indie rocks of the kind of age that Foals were about could match. No one really in their same ilk was doing what they were doing at this point. Red Sox Puget is another one to just kind of sit back and behold, with its complex inner workings being paired up with some tender strings that eventually just get off thrown to the wayside with this really chaotic, just an utterly chaotic finale. And then we get Big Love, which is far more reserved from what came before, but it never feels like a stripped back version, as the fire burning within the youthful group just continues to do so. Even the smaller touches, the one that comes to mind is like the glitchy outro of Lake Swimming, which kind of becomes more and more distorted, and just like ends up flowing into Tron, where that distortion becomes just really melodic. It goes in a path that you kind of just expect to be sort of grating, but it just gives a really creative edge, I would say. And like I say, the band have had more commercial success, arguably even more critical success, since this album. But for me, this is where the band were the most interesting, and I would have really liked to have seen them go down a more math rock centric route. But I'm not exactly complaining, because albums like Holy Fire and Total Life Forever they're good. I'm not gonna deny their quality. Just it would have been interesting to see them return to this with the maturity and the development that they've undergone through the past decade. If you've listened to this album, let me know what you make of it. If you haven't, as with all these albums that I've talked about in this series, I would recommend you seek out this on whatever streaming service. But thank you for watching today. I'll catch you guys tomorrow for our Christmas cracker. As always, stay safe, stay hydrated.